Happy Monday, guys, and welcome in here to PuckTime on WagerTalk TV. We have sides, totals, props, and best bets here at the end of the show, as well as my buy and sell segment will return. I am Andrew, and I have Carmine Bianco with me. He's off another awesome NFL weekend, but also a 5% NHL winner. I'm having a good start to my NHL 2024. So looking forward to keeping that run going. 3 games, Penguins, Flyers, Stars, Wild, Bruins, and the Colorado Avalanche. Carm, it's always a good game when these teams get together, no matter where they are in the standings, Flyers and Penguins. Before you dive into it, though, man, how was your weekend?
Weekend was good. Overall, winning weekend, which is always great. I went out with some friends for the late games. There's no way I can't do the 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 8 o'clock with my friends who are younger. They pound those beers. I got there for the second half of the late games, and then the 8 o'clock Bills Mafia, baby. We go down there, we slice up some tuna, and we head home with the AFC East title in our hands. And Pittsburgh Steelers up next for the Bills. Super excited. Then, of course, I was the only guy at this sports bar who requested they put the Winnipeg Jets and Arizona Coyotes on TV, which he did for me because I had a play on Winnipeg as a 5% play, and that got there pretty easy. It was, I think it was a no sweater for the most part. But I'm looking forward to Andrew. We got a big week ahead. There's some really good games this weekend and on this card. We look at this one, and it's the Battle of Pennsylvania in this one. And the Flyers have already beaten Pittsburgh twice this season. And Pittsburgh comes off a loss. They've been playing well. They went into Boston, they upset the Bruins, and then they come home and they lose to the Sabres. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I think I took Pittsburgh in that game as well too in regulation. But if you look at the numbers, they just ran into Luukkonen was unbelievable in goal. He stoned Pittsburgh. They were all over the Sabres in that one. Even the final XG numbers in that one were 373 to 2.5 for Pittsburgh, which tells you they were the better team in that one. Philly's shown a little bit of regression, although they do come off a win against the sometimes hot, sometimes cold Calgary Flames. The fact that this is the Philly has won the first 2 in this series, I always lean to, and I've done it this season. If a team has won the first 2, I've gone against them in the third one. Case in point, Montreal Canadiens. They beat the free space on the bingo card, the Buffalo Sabres. The first 2 meetings, Buffalo goes there and beats them 6-1. And I was on the Sabres in that one. I thought it was a good one. High danger chances, 12-6 in that game as well, too, for Pittsburgh. It was one of those ones where puck luck wasn't on their side. And Brian always talks about that as well, too. I'm going to take Pittsburgh here. I think 125 is a good price. And I think Pittsburgh's the right side here. Although the Flyers just give you fits sometimes. This team is building a culture. I've talked about it throughout the season. They're building a culture there where they want people to play in Philadelphia, and they're not afraid to throw the fisticuffs too. It's almost like the old Broad Street Bullies. But with that said, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh here, minus 125, low price on them for a team that's playing well right now.
I completely agree. And I think that one thing, Carm, when you look at this matchup is I always talk about, do you handicap a game based on right now or kind of like look ahead lines and what really the projections would have been earlier in the season? I know people do that in the NFL, right? Like what was the look ahead line for this game? And realistically, if you think about it 2 months ago, what the pricing would have been for this game, it probably wouldn't have been close to what it is right now. Obviously, Philadelphia has, surpassed expectations. They've kind of held on to it. They haven't really dropped off as I expected them to. But you mentioned it. It's so funny how teams can do that. And that's just sports for you. It proves that sports are so mental because a huge, huge win in Boston for Pittsburgh, 6-5 with a late goal there from Crosby and a high scoring game there for them to win. And they dropped that one to Buffalo. And I love hearing you call them the free space, but they weren't a free space for Pittsburgh. But, when you look at the quotes I saw from this Pittsburgh team and the coach, there was zero frustration. There was zero frustration from them in the quotes. It was all, I thought we played a good game. We got lots of shots on goal. We're continuing to build. They talked about how the goaltender on the other side played well. To me, this is almost one of those things where when your team is going into a buy mode for us as sports bettors, there's nothing wrong with them going through a bump in the road. And if that bump in the road is running into a hot goaltender on a not so great team, so be it. Because I think that that's almost a good wake-up call, a good reality check really quick, keeps the team focused, and they'll come back and be motivated in this one. The only thing is when I look at this game here, Carm, I think it's time for me to start looking at some teams like Philadelphia. And somebody pointed out to me on Twitter, I can't remember his name, so I apologize, but saying that I think it's time for us to maybe mention Washington as an over team. And Philadelphia even too, they found themselves in some higher scoring games earlier in the year. But when they play against elite of the elite, it seems like they're struggling to score goals. So I kind of lean to the under actually in this game after kind of a tough one there for Pittsburgh. Even though it was a low scoring game, I feel like the Bruins game was good. The game before that, they played well, but they still want to play better defensively. Just because they're playing better now and the XG numbers are starting to add up doesn't mean they're playing well defensively anymore. Their scoring is just making up for it. Even though they beat Boston, they still allowed 5, right? So I kind of think we'll see a better defensive effort out of Pittsburgh and start seeing some unders. But overall, I like Pittsburgh here as well. And I want to ask you about that. I mean, you've had such a great NFL season. When people talk about look-ahead lines in the NFL, do you agree that this number wouldn't have been, close to what it is for this game, 2 months ago? And it's kind of worthy of mentioning just because although Philadelphia is playing well, are they still, good enough to be this short of dogs? I just don't think so.
No, and you look at them like even like you look at even short term, their last 8 games, they're 2-6. Yeah, they did get a couple games to overtime, but at the end of the day, if you're flat betting the team, you're losing those games. You're not always playing teams in regulation against them. And at a low line like this, you would never take Pittsburgh in regulation. It's 125. You take Pittsburgh to win outright. They get a win in Vancouver on their West Coast trip, and they beat Calgary here, it was almost like the quick revenge spot because they lost in Calgary, I believe, on that West Coast trip 4-3. So pretty much split that series with them. But two wins in the last 8 games. You have to say a little bit of regression has hit the team. They're playing so well for so long, and it doesn't mean they're going to drop off. They're going to still win games. They're going to compete because that's the way their coach is. Tortorella gets the best out of them. So we'll see. I wanted to mention about that Pittsburgh game. In that Pittsburgh game against Buffalo, in low scoring games, the margins are so thin that even Pittsburgh had 2 goals called back on coaches' challenges in the first period. One was a clear offside. Crosby was offside by at least 2 or 3 feet. The second goal that they called that was overturned. The player Gunsel was outside. I think it was outside of the box, outside of the blue paint, and Luukkonen leaned forward when the shot was being taken, and his head and the elbow hit each other as the puck was going by. The penalty should be enforced if the offensive player is in the blue paint only. When you're talking about goalie interference, that's what the blue paint is there for. But unfortunately, that call went against them, and instead of being tied, they're behind and on their way to a loss, a 3-1 loss. So I just wanted to mention that one as well too. But it's Pittsburgh for me in this one.
Really quick, one prop I like in this game, Rickard Rakell from Pittsburgh to record a point. It's minus 125. And when you have a team that's playing like Pittsburgh are playing right now, it's hard, Carm, to get props in on guys like Sid or Malkin or even Letang, Carlson, some of these guys that are always on the score sheet because, they're so strong, right? Gensel props, even Russ props are a little bit more pricey. Raquel minus 125 just to record a point, I think is a pretty good one there. And I have to mention, I talk about coaches' quotes. Do you ever feel like it's always a bad thing if John Tortorella is in the media? Like, it's like if John Tortorella is like he benched Morgan Frost the other day, and if there's some type of like confrontation going on with John Tortorella and one of his players, even if it's like not like toxic, it just feels like it's never a good thing for the team. And it always like everybody praises John Tortorella when their team is playing well, but then nobody talks about how he just immediately like starts benching guys and resting them for the whole third period. And I don't know. Like, I think that this is a good time to continue fading this Philadelphia team. John Tortorella has, I've heard great things about him. I saw this podcast one time where he's like an underrated and misunderstood coach, but I feel like he has like temper problems. Like, one week he's like so happy and smiling, and the next week he's like benching all of his best players. Carm, I think it's a good sign to fade a coach like that sometimes.
Are you saying Italians have a bad temper? Is that what you're saying, Andrew? Is that what you're saying? Are
I
you
didn't mention
referencing? Are you making
nationalities.
fun of? Well, yeah, well, you mentioned Tortorella. You could have, whatever. But listen, no, I get it. It's in him. I remember back in the days of like him being in New York with the reporter there. I think he used to always call him Brooksy. He's like, what kind of a
Yeah,
stupid question is that, Brooksy? You keep throwing the same question at me time and time again. It's great. You want a coach that has that fire. You want a coach that tells you the truth. He'll tell you if his players are bad or tell you if his players are good. I mean, we can't live. Tortorella does not live in a soft world. I'm going to say it right now. He does not live in a soft world. He will say what is on his mind, and that's what you want in a coach. Let's stop coddling these guys who make $12 million a year and get 24 minutes of ice time to score goals, and let's get what we're supposed to get out of them. So there you go. Let me get off my
I agree.
soapbox and let's talk about Dallas and
He will
Minnesota.
say. Yeah, I just want to mention really quick. It's the last day for that great special we have going. You buy a month all sports package, and we'll throw in a week for free. So, guys, of course, this is all sports, not just hockey. But it's 37 days all access is pretty much what you're getting. You buy a 30-day pass. This will get you every single sport across the board that the person that you purchase from handicaps. And I know that between yourself and me, we do quite a bit of sports, Carm, and honestly, I'm looking forward to people that join me with this package because you kind of get that taste of the sports I'm doing besides just hockey, right? UFC, I'm always dabbling in. NBA, I've been picking things up in and things like that. So I know you do soccer, crushing it in the NFL. So guys, final day for this package. So if you watch Puck Time every day, you want some information, check it out with this package. Buy a 30-day all access, and you will get 7 days for free. Get to the next one here, Carm. Dallas Stars and Minnesota Wild. What are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, you want to talk puck luck, Andrew? Let's talk puck luck on this one. Dallas Stars. They play back-to-back home games against Chicago. Win one in OT, annihilate them in the second game 8-1, and then they lose three straight home games. And they lose to Montreal, I think it was Nashville and Colorado. They won the XG battle in all three games. They won the XG battle. I think Montreal had an XG of under 1 and won that game. It's one of those ones. They're all one-goal losses. Team is playing well, but sometimes you run into a team that just plays well defensively, a hot goalie, or just missed chances. But they won the XG battle in each one of those games. They're tough losses. And now they hit the road, and this is a back-to-back, a home-and-home series between them and Minnesota. They're playing obviously in Minnesota tonight, and then in a couple days they play on Wednesday. They play back in Dallas. And normally, I'm of the mindset of the team that loses the first one, I will take them in the second one. I think Dallas should win both these games just because we know what is going on in Minnesota. We know what's going on with their goaltending. We know what's going on with some of their players who are out, the struggles. They won a game on the weekend against Columbus. And you want to talk about puck luck? Columbus has an empty net, not from their own zone, inside the blue line, empty net. The guy misses the empty net, goes down the other way, and the goalie loses it through his pads and it trickles into the net. Minnesota ties it up and then wins it in overtime. That is puck luck. If you're on Columbus, it's a horrible way to lose. And if you're on the Wild, just make a donation to when you go to church on Sunday. If you go to church on Sunday, Dallas Stars for me. I'm a $1.40 here. The better team. They hit the road, even for only one game after three tough losses at home. I gotta figure they're going to get back into the win column. They're the type of team that will grind for 60 minutes, and maybe that's not the best team for the Wild to be playing tonight. So give me Minnesota, give me Dallas here. And if Dallas wins, I'm definitely doubling up on Dallas on Wednesday night. And if Dallas was to lose tonight, I'm definitely coming back with Dallas on Wednesday night.
It makes me feel so good for you to make that donation, saying that you always say, when I was actually a part of it. I had the Wild on Saturday, and so it's a nice feeling to be on that end of it than the other side, which I have been on many times. It's nice. I've been fading this Wild team for a couple days or a couple games in a row, and then I said, this is actually a pretty good price, kind of like a buy low number for them, and it wasn't easy, that's for sure. Marc-Andre Fleury dashing back into the net makes that diving play, and they win in overtime, as you mentioned. Great effort there from Minnesota. But when it comes down to it for them, it's one of those games, Carm, where even though I won, as you mentioned, I can't be happy about the win. If anything, I learned more about Minnesota, how bad they are, even though they won. Like it gave me more reason to want to bet against them in the future, even though they got that game, right? So, and looking at Dallas, yeah, you're right. I mean, 3 straight losses: Montreal, Colorado, Nashville, giving up goals in all of them. But one thing we've talked about is this team and their goal scoring, man. Whether they're scoring goals or they're giving up goals, they have been a part of some high scoring games. I mean, they're one of the many teams in the league, as you know, I get involved in these team totals, but they're one of the teams that I have circled. If you want to bet on them, I think the team total is certainly the way to go. You look back at their win against Chicago, 8-1, previous win against Chicago, 5-4, win against Vancouver, 4-3, Seattle, 4-3. 4 of their last 5 games, they have scored at least 4 goals, but they even have some losses where they've scored 4 goals. And that's the best part about the team totals, Carm. When I had the team total over for Dallas against Colorado, they lost 5-4, but I wasn't sweating it. And of course, I believe that was the game that you, Brian, and myself all liked the full game over. So maybe I should have just stuck with that. But this Minnesota team, we talked about Marc-Andre Fleury, talked about the goaltending problems for them. They have been kind of playing a bend, don't break style. Ever since they fired Dean Evason, it seems like they definitely have been a little more defensive. Like, even if they get a lead, they want to just protect it. If they're down 1-0, they're not really trying to take many chances and risk it. And I know that could be a problem when you take a team total, but things have to be wearing on this Minnesota team right now. I'm going to turn a minus into a plus and shop around, guys. I've seen some pretty good prices, but consensus number I'm seeing here is plus 105. Dallas team total over 3.5 plus 105. So that's what I'll rock with here for my play. And it's just crazy how many high scoring games this team has been a part of, Carm. They're definitely a team I want to just have their team total and not even worry about the side here. The best part about team totals, I talk about it all the time, and you guys are probably tired of hearing it, but if Minnesota goes up 2-0, I couldn't care less. It's just, get me 4 for Dallas, and that's all that matters to me. But off a win they don't really deserve with Minnesota, you can talk about it 2 different ways. Well, maybe they'll build off that. I don't think there's any building off that. They got lucky. They won a game they shouldn't have won, Carm, and let's fade them tonight. I'm with you.
Yeah, no, listen, Andrew, and I get it, and I agree with you wholeheartedly. You're killing those team totals, man. You should just like literally team totals the rest of the NHL season. You're going to finish up like 150 units or something, because you're absolutely killing it. I want to quickly answer a question in the chat. Jake Folsom asked, would you rather take Minnesota in regulation plus 120-ish or whatever instead of like laying the 140? Um, Not for me. I will play a team I think is going to win when the price is, let's say, in that 160th range and down. When it gets into the 170s and 180s, those aren't games I'm comfortable releasing to clients. So I keep track of, on a spreadsheet of regulation wins versus overall wins on some of these plays. And I would rather lay the regulation in that spot because I figure if this team is going to win, they're going to win it in 60. Long term, over the last couple of years, the regulation has been a more profitable angle. Case in point, the one, Pittsburgh losing, and I have them in regulation. They lose that game. If I laid they were minus 200, 190, 200, they close that. You lay that, you literally have to hit 66% of your wagers or more just to break even on one losing play. I don't want to put myself or my clients in that spot. So I'm comfortable laying 140. just because even if the play was to go down, we can get that vig back as opposed to having to win a couple plays to get it back. If that makes any sense.
I agree with you. And there's certainly spots where you want to use the regulation, but certain times I think it's worth it to just have the money. And I'd be curious. We'll have to ask Ralph. I mean, how many overtimes are we seeing these days? Every night there seems to be one or two, Carm. Even on these slates tonight, there's probably going to be one overtime, and you don't want to be a part of that. You don't want to. You don't want to see the team that you want to win that game in overtime, and you have the regulation. So you want to pick your spots with that for sure. Guys, around 200 people watching, and we only have a little over 40 likes. Please do us a favor. Don't make me sound like the Prez. I want to be my own person here, but we need some likes on this show. Start the week off on a good note for us, please. If we made you some money last week, if you're enjoying the show, hit the like button on this video. Don't forget to subscribe to WagerTalk TV as well.
And the 6 and 60. Last week we dedicated it to one of our regulars, Russell Deck. 6 and 60 goes 4 and 2. One of the plays was that your fortune, my misfortune, the Columbus, Minnesota under 6. It was 4-2. I think at one, or it was 3-2 at one point. And even if he scores into the empty nets, 4-2 is a push. If he finishes 3-2, but you got the puck luck. Congratulations on that winner, Andrew. And 4-2, not bad. Back to back 4-2s. We need a 5-1 or a 6-0. Maybe we'll get that this weekend.
Hey, 4-2 is pretty darn good, man. You can take that every week, and you're going to make some money. But hey, 5-1 is just around the corner. And how about that win for the Canadiens on Saturday night over the Rangers? I'm just saying, what a win! I mean, this team, you don't know what's going on with them, man. They'll lose to your Sabres, and then they beat the New York Rangers. That's a mystery team for sure. And I have fun watching them. One more game to get to. It's obviously the game of the night. Hey, go ahead, Carm. Go ahead. I was
going to say no. I was going to say no. They had every reason to roll over after blowing a big lead. And that just shows you I think that comes from like the coaching as well too. Like I like Marty St. Louis behind the net, right? He's good. So he's a good coach. It's he just sends his guys out there. Guys, come on, gets that third line. We need a good shift from you guys. Get out there, reestablish the game, and they did. And for them to win it after blowing a lead, especially against a team like the Rangers, is impressive. So no, I'm not making fun of your Canadians. It was a well-deserved win, is what I'm telling you. All right.
Most people that watch their favorite team, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Nice as Look,
most people that watch their favorite team, okay. Like most people that watch their favorite team, if they have a 3-0 lead, they feel good. If my team has a 3-0 lead, doesn't happen often, I'm still sweating on the couch. Like I still am like so worried, and now people understand why, because they just blow leads like that all the time. This is the game of the night, Carm. We've got the Bruins and the Avalanche. The Avalanche are still scoring, but man, they can't keep the puck out of their own net. I made a free play video a half an hour before the game on Saturday talking about the Avalanche as a pick I liked. And, well, they went down 2-0 before I could even get settled in watching the game, and their goaltenders let them down. I think Colorado played well, but their goaltending let them down. Who do you think takes the game tonight, Bees and Avs?
This is a weird one, Andrew, just because anytime I feel like I get a little bit of hate anytime I say you got to bet against the Bruins, because we have a lot of pucksters in our live chat who are Bruins fans, and I get it. I think I just saw a message from one who he's a closet Bruins fan. Lawrence Presman is in our chats right now. Believe it or not, I'm surprised he's up at 11:24. He usually wakes up 5 minutes before Wager Talk Today starts. But with that, all kidding aside, with that said, you look at this one. The Avs are off an embarrassing loss at home to Florida. They lose 8-4 in that game, but they had won their seven home games prior to that one. So it's one of those ones where you got to draw a line through it. If you remember earlier this season, I think it was the St. Louis Blues went into Colorado. I believe it was the St. Louis Blues and beat them like 7-0. And we're like, where did that come from? But you know what Colorado did? They reeled off 3 straight wins, scoring 19 goals. Um, Talk about responding to a bad game. They certainly did. So now, do they respond to the Bruins? I think so. I think they're going to score some goals tonight. The Bruins are 5-5 their last 10. So obviously, some regression has hit this team. This team has been playing so well for so long this season that at some point, good teams are going to go through these 10 or 15 or 20 game segments where they're a 500 team. It doesn't mean that they're tanking. It just means that that intensity level, they're not at it like they were earlier in the season. Road trip, this is the start of the road trip for them. We'll see how it goes, but I think the better play here, just because I don't expect the Bruins to roll over to the Avalanche, not at all. They're going to score goals as well too. And this total's at 6. I'm a little surprised by it, but I get it in the fact that it is the Bruins, and they're a pretty good defensive team. But you got to take the over in this game. It's at 6, juice to the over by 20 cents. I thought this would be a 6.5 overnight. It wasn't. So this is likely going to make my card once the show is over. I got a couple plays loaded already, and this is probably going to be the third on tonight's card. So I'm going to go over in this one and look for the Avs to likely get a win tonight, but also both teams to supply enough scoring to get us over this total of 6. Andrew.
Yeah, I just really feel like if anybody was taking the under in this game, you're just trying to be contrarian. Like that, I don't know what evidence you could really dish out. You know, 4 last 6 games for Colorado over, 4 last 5 for the Bruins over, and the defense not being good for either team right now. Colorado. What's crazy about Colorado is they scored 4 in the game against the Panthers, gave up 8. You know, they scored 4. Or they score 5 against Dallas, give up 4. 5 against New York, give up 4. This is a team that no matter what, when they have a good game right now or a bad game, they're scoring and their opponent's scoring. They're involved in high scoring games. You know, I think that I talk about it all the time. When you have defensemen that jump into the rush, it hurts your team sometimes because it creates odd man rushes the other way. But also the goaltending hasn't been as great lately. Georgiev's obviously the best one out of the tandem, but even Georgiev has been a little bit shaky as of late. Obviously, he came in to the game against the Florida Panthers about halfway through, but then he gave up 4 goals himself. So it's not like we can blame everything on everybody else that was out there if Georgiev came in and struggled. So Boston going on the road, as you mentioned, it's so important to get that 6 versus the 6.5. We've had a good run when we've had some plays together where we're teaming up lately, Carm. I like the over as well, man. And no team totals from me in this one. Like I said, I don't know what Colorado team we're going to get. And a lot of times when I see a crazy game that ends 8-4, we got 12 goals in this game. I might try and build a case for, okay, they have to be defensive. They'll try and shut them down. I got to see it before I can believe it with this team. That's for sure.
It's nuts because when you see a lot of goals, sometimes you have to look at what the XG in that game actually was, whether it was an actual high scoring game, and not just on the scoreboard, but analytics wise. And I say that because if you look back, I remember Columbus going to Buffalo and beating the Sabres 9-4. And the XG numbers were under 6 in that game. I think they were under 5, the combined XG numbers in that game. And it's just because if you had watched the game, and unfortunately I watched the game as a Sabres fan, they were scoring from everywhere. The blue line, the pucks were just bouncing in. It was like they were using a cardboard cutout in goal, the Sabres. And didn't matter who they put in there. They put one guy in, he allows 4 or 5 goals. Put the other guy in, he allows another 4 goals. It was just an insane game where the XG number didn't match the actual final score line. So, with that said, I'm still buying this over 6 tonight in this game before it hits 6.5. There's still 6 on our live lines at WagerTalk, which is a great tool that you guys should always be using to monitor any line changes throughout the day. But speaking of buy, Andrew, we have the buy and sell segment. We missed it last week on a short week. We're back with it. Who do you got? Let's hear your buy and sell teams.
We are back with the buy and sell segment. And another quick reminder for everybody out there, it is the final day at WagerTalk.com for the buy 1 month all access and get 1 week for free. 37-day all access pass is pretty much what you were getting every pick that I release, and off to a pretty good start to the new year. So join me on that, guys. You get every play I release right to your email or mobile device. Buy team for me is the Calgary Flames. This team, they got Ottawa on deck at the end of their road trip. They have the Coyotes, Golden Knights. To me, this is a team I think is about to get going a little bit. I don't really have a ton of faith in them to, make a playoff push by any means and end up being an unbelievable team. But I don't like how they've been playing against some of these bottom tier teams. But I think against a struggling team like Ottawa that gives up a ton of goals, an Arizona team that's finally coming down to earth, that's probably going to be out of playoff contention soon, a Vegas Golden Knights team that's really had trouble with letdown spots lately, and then they get to play the Coyotes and then Maple Leafs after that. This is a team that we're going to get some great numbers on, some value on here, and I love their schedule coming up. They just dropped a game to the Blackhawks, and the Blackhawks' entire lineup probably wouldn't even crack the roster on a top 10 team in the NHL. And some people might say, why is this your buy? Because I feel like it's a wake-up call. You get to play the Senators, that's very fatigued, end of their road trip. Then you get to play the Coyotes after that. I like this spot here over the next week for the Flames. They are my buy team. And my sell team, guys, it's hard not to continuously fade this team. The Anaheim Ducks. They've got the Predators. They've got the Hurricanes, the Lightning, and the Panthers on deck moving forward for their next 4 games. I simply do not think they'll be able to trade goals, but also deal with the defensive pressure these 4 teams apply. The Ducks feels like they've been rebuilding for many years. They still have a lot of young players, but it's going to be a long time until they can really get things going. They're 7th place in their division right now, and I simply do not think things get any better, especially this next coming week and a half. So we'll sell this Ducks team, look to find ways to bet against them, and we'll try and make money with the Calgary Flames. One team I'm looking to bet on and one team I'm looking to bet against, Carm, for the next week.
I like them both, Andrew. I think you got the Ducks going on, what is that, six game road trip, 6 or 7 game road trip. Starts on the East Coast, and then I think it ends in San Jose. And there's some tough nuts on that East Coast that they're going to be playing that for them to crack. I'm not sure they can do it. And the Flames one, you look at the schedule over the next 7 days, like you said, it is a favorable one for them, and uh, they're not afraid to go into Vegas and play the Knights. A close one, I think, earlier this year, and the previous year they went in there. I think they beat them like 7-2. I think one of the games was. I don't know if it was. I think it was last year. So they can win in Vegas until Vegas gets their whole team healthy and back. You can play against them at in certain spots, and that might be one of them. So we'll see how that goes. But I like both of them. We'll reconvene next Monday and see how that works out. I'm sure they'll let us know in the chat either way, whether it's good or whether it's bad. They'll let us know, and we love you guys for that as well too.
They definitely will. And you know what? It is important. If I'm going to be back doing this segment each week, I have to recap how the week before it went. It's only right. It's only right to do that. And hopefully we can have a winning week with the bet on and bet against. Carm, speaking of which, we went a combined 10-0 last week on our PuckTime best bets. Let's keep the streak alive, man. What do you have for us tonight?
Yeah, we had a pretty good puck time last week as far as the show best bets. I had actually posted or tweeted out that we went to 12-0 because someone had said to me, I think it was in the live chat, a couple of guys had said, "Come on, you guys are like 9-0 heading into like Friday." And then Friday we swept. We were actually 7-2 heading into it, but or I think 7-2. Anyways, we finished 10-2 overall, Andrew. So that's not bad for us. Let's see if we keep it rolling. I'm gonna have an NHL card. I'm gonna have a couple early NFL plays up for the this round of the playoffs. 81 units of profit in the NFL this season, which is number 1 at WagerTalk. So pick up that 30-day. Today's the last day to get that 30-day all access package where you're going to get an extra week on top of it, which is, that's a $99 value in itself. My show play, this is not making my card, but this is a play that I do like, and I'm going to put it up on the site as a free play as well too, is the Penguins tonight. Penguins minus 125. We talked about it earlier. You have to look at that Sabres, that last loss. They've been playing well. You have to look at that last loss and kind of draw a line through it. They ran into a very hot goaltender, I think, and the one disallowed goal, not the two disallowed goals, I think obviously hurt the team. They're playing extremely well. The Flyers have already won the first two in this series, and I like to take the team that's lost the first two games in the season series to win the third one. It's worked well in a couple instances this year. I'm going to go with it again. Pittsburgh Penguins minus 125 in the Battle of Pennsylvania as your show best bet.
You know, I like the Pittsburgh Penguins right now. They're playing extremely well. We will rock with them again tonight. And Carm, no pressure, man. I'm feeling the pressure here with this. It's been a great run, but we'll try and keep things going. These best bets. Look, we always tell you guys to, follow us with the other bets we give out on the show as well. We try and do our best to make sure you guys have, a play we really do like for the end of the show segment. But I do have a 4% best bet, my favorite play on the board, available over at WagerTalk.com. So if you don't want to grab that 1 month or 37-day pass, you can certainly go ahead and grab my 4% best bet in the NHL. We'll also have a few free plays up in the NFL. Doing one actually on WagerTalk today in probably about an hour's time. But my free play is going to be Jonathan Drouin from the Colorado Avalanche to record a point at minus 130. He has a point in 8 of his last 10 games. I mentioned this Colorado team, whether they win or they lose, they are putting up a ton of goals. And Drouin is getting time on the first line with Mikko Rantanen, Nathan McKinnon. He's out there on the power play. He is getting all of the opportunity he needs, and he's minus 130. His line mates are in the minus 200s to get a point. In fact, their number is actually 1.5, but yet they stick him with the 0.5 at minus 130. Drouin started off slow this season, but he's really picking things up. I guess all he had to do was leave the Montreal Canadiens to find his stride and start playing well. So I'll take Drouin minus 130 for me to record a point. Carmine has the Pittsburgh Penguins. Let's start this week off on a great note. Guys, please hit the like button. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Puck Time.